Okay, nicely introducing my next guest now. It's a privilege to have Luke Smallbone from For King and Country. Welcome to my show.
Hi, no worries, man. Thank you for having me on. I have been looking forward to getting a moment to chat.
Great, and I'm here to get you on to talk about your latest album, which is a
Yeah,
live kind of release of your Drummer Boy Christmas concert.
yeah, yeah.
And I just wanted to go through it, like uh, uh, have a look at some of the tracks on there. So with the album, you start off with "In the Bleak Midwinter." That's a nice introductory number to the album.
Yeah, I think that song is so rich in power, in meaning, right? And it was a song that was not all that familiar with actually when we first started. And someone said, "Hey, you should look at this." And just reading the lyrics was so taken by the power and the meaning in the song. So it's yeah, so hopeful, and as you said, I think it leads into the rest of the record really well.
Yeah, as I says, like it's an introductory number. You know, when you're reading a book,
Yeah,
like a prologue, and then it leads to
yeah,
like the
that's right.
main event.
That's
Yes,
right.
I know the song well. You know, through playing piano. You know, when I was younger. You know, on the Christmas Carol books, it's maybe
Yeah.
one everyone's familiar with. And then "Joy to the World." That's the one which gets everyone going. That's the one which kind of gets everyone on their feet in the concert.
Yeah, it's the joyful number, as you kind of say. It's one of the things that you try to achieve with a concert is you try there to be some highs and lows, and it takes you on a little bit of a journey, almost like a movie would. And yes, as you said, in the bleak, it's a prelude type situation, and then joy kind of gets you it hits you with the high number and the energy, and obviously it's been a song that we've enjoyed playing for many years now.
That's marvelous. And then that will lead on to O Come Emmanuel." Some people know that's released from Cliff Richard amongst other artists, but you put your own kind of reinterpretation on this track, make it your own.
Yeah, I think that's always the hope. We have a little bit of a kind of a theory on how to remake songs, and that is don't mess with the good stuff, and then in the gaps, maybe you could come up with some of your own little renditions, and do some of your own little hooks and tricks and things like that. And so yeah, oh come, Emmanuel is one where everyone knows the song. It's not necessarily worth mucking with it by any means, but you've still got to bring what you do to the table, and so
Yeah.
you do that kind of in the space.
Agreed. And on this album, the production is phenomenal. The sounds that you put together in the production of the album, it's very high quality to say the least.
Yeah, so one of the things that I realized going into the recording was I'd been reading a little bit about Disney and how they do their soundtracks, and especially back quite a number of years ago, they all made sure that they always used organic, real instruments for their soundtracks, so that they wouldn't date. And so if you actually go listen to a lot of Disney type songs, they actually still, for the most part, they don't sound old. They just kind of sound like they sound, if that makes sense. And so one of the things that we tried to do was let's use orchestral instruments because they don't really date themselves. Try to make it feel timeless. And ironically enough, actually, Ben Bapty, who's an Englishman, was the guy who mixed it in a way that is very different to what I'm used to doing for our more traditional albums. And I think that some of the things that he brought to the table that I otherwise probably wouldn't be comfortable with is actually the thing that makes it as timeless sounding as we had hoped. And it was a really cool thing. I never actually got to meet him in person, but he was one of the guys that brought that to the table.
Oh wow, that's amazing. And "O Come Emmanuel," that ranks really highly in like your receivership of listeners. It's with the like the figures, it's like very well received.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the top, three or four songs, yeah,
Hmm.
on the record as far as streaming and when you get into the numbers games.
Sure. And on to the next tracks. They're called "Won't You Come," and then "Baby Boy," then "Glorious." With
Yeah.
those three songs, it's kind of like spreading the gospel, the good news that the King is born.
Yeah, yeah, and then the more the original sides of the Christmas season, and so yeah, won't you come is kind of like this, kind of tags onto "Oh Come on Come Emmanuel" to a degree, and then "Baby Boy" was actually a song that we wrote very early on in our career, and was one that I'm sure you know this in music, you hope songs are written quickly, but they're at times and oftentimes not. and it was one that really almost entirely came in an afternoon. And it was a song that a lot of people for that have been listening to us for a while. It goes back a number of years, and then Glorious is kind of our almost a modern. We break our rules of more timeless sounding tracks for just a second, and it's a modern, as you say, introduction to who Jesus is the baby boy.
Yeah. Of course, Christmas is a time for family and spending it with loved
Yeah.
ones, but it's essential to keep the true message alive for the generations to come. I think this is what the album does and the concert.
Yeah, I mean, look, you forget that the reason why you get a Christmas gift on at Christmas is because it's to represent the gift of what Jesus was as a baby boy, and so I think you're exactly right. One of the things that there's a reason why Christmas comes around every year because I think it's important to remember. I think that's why we have obviously national holidays. That's why we have memorials and we have all these different things. Is it's important to remember where we came from, and then also to remember, when it comes to Christmas, it's that little baby boy is the hope of the world, and I think it's important to remember that.
Very true. And then on to your next record. This is quite a familiar track that people may know. Go Tell It on the Mountain features Gabby Barnett, who appeared on
Yeah.
American Idol as well. A bit of
Yes.
country there
Yes.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah. She is. And it was funny when we decided to do the song. I remember actually thinking to myself, maybe I shouldn't say this in an interview, but I will. I remember thinking to myself, I don't particularly like "Go Tell It on the Mountain" as a song. It's just kind of annoying, and so I remember thinking both Joel and I were like, well, is there a way you can make it cool? And that was the whole process of it. Was like, well, I wonder, it's a very popular song. People
Yeah.
obviously know it, but in some cases, it's almost like a nursery rhyme as well. In some
Yeah.
cases, and some people might not like that it's a nursery rhyme. Other people might go, I wish it was a little bit cooler. So that was our attempt. And so bringing Gabby on, obviously she's a great singer and has had a great career so far. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was a real joy to kind of have her share that moment with us.
That's great. So the country that song has a country element to it, and
Yeah.
just a little bit of trace of yeah, like a bit of yodeling in there, like like Switzerland mountains as well.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit, that you just kind of swing it a little bit, and it just kind of has it has an interesting, it has a feeling of history to it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
That's very nice. And in the concert, does Gabby make an appearance via a snow dome?
Yeah, she does. She kind of comes up on this little snow globe that we have in the middle of the show, or the middle of the production. And yeah, she appears and does kind of like a virtual appearance with us, which we do a few times with a few different artists. And it just makes it kind of just makes it fun. It feels kind of makes the night feel communal, even if they can't be there in person. It just makes them feel like they're a part of it. And so
Yeah.
she was kind enough to kind of join us in that.
It's amazing how technology has progressed over the years and it still keeps developing.
And it helps us. Yeah, it helps. It's interesting. You merge technology with art. Sometimes people are a little bit of afraid of it, but I think some really good things can happen if you merge the two.
Amazing. And do you hear what I hear? That's quite a classic, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and that was one that we recorded, and it wasn't on the original release. We actually added it, I think, a year or two after we released it. Maybe it was a year, and kind of turned out to be one of the biggest songs on the album. We probably should have put it on the first time around. And yeah, it's just a classic. Do you hear what I hear? I think everyone kind of knows it, and I think that's the joy of Christmas songs. Is you're talking about some of the greatest songs ever in the history of the world. I've often joked that one of your guys, C.S. Lewis, he says the only books really worth reading are the ones that are 50 years and older. And I think he's saying that with a little bit of humor. But I think if you apply the same to music, you've got obviously folks like the Beatles, who are universally kind of considered the greatest songwriters ever in the history of the world, up until you come to Christmas music. Because Christmas music triumphs over the Beatles, it triumphs over anyone that's really written music in the last few years, because it's sometimes hundreds of years old, which says, I think, speaks to the quality and the reverence of the music.
It's like timeless, isn't it?
Yeah,
Carries on.
yeah, it is.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. And on to your next song. It's called For God Is With Us. Could that be a song about saying that the Lord's not too far away from you? When one
Yeah,
struggles in life, it's okay to reach out to him. He's there.
yeah, it was actually originally written for the Christmas album, and we pulled it because it wasn't quite Christmassy enough. We actually couldn't make it super Christmassy, though it is saying "For God is with us" as a baby boy, and as as he is just as God. But I think it was important to actually pull it, but we included it in this because it speaks of those themes. It speaks of Christmas themes, and so it's our one kind of year round, or we have a couple of year round originals that we play that is on the Christmas album as well.
That's a nice touch. And then "O Come All You Faithful." That's another popular hymn.
Yeah,
when you were selecting well Christmas carols or hymns for the album, was it hard
yeah.
to select the songs because there's so many to choose from?
Yeah, yeah. Look, I think one of the things that we were pretty conscious of, we're not going to be singing probably just kind of we're not going to be singing songs like "Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer." You know what I mean? We want them to be spiritual. We want them to be meaningful. We want them to be reverent. And so that doesn't obviously, there's still a ton of songs, right? That doesn't immediately go, oh, you've just got this, small batch. But I do think it did at least give it a little bit of focus as to the songs that we were attempting to write and record. And in this case, oh come we, oh come on, you faithful is it's a timeless one. Yeah, I think
Mm.
it's probably in the top five. I think probably most famous Christmas carols that exist, and I actually find that song particularly to be lyrically, you're asking the faithful one to come. I think that's a pretty cool thing.
And that nicely leads on to Silent Night. That those two songs back to back complement each other. And then what I like about Silent Night is like the dulcet, deep tones of your voice as well.
Yeah, I mean, Silent Night is in the show. It's our moment where we actually go like 30, 40 feet in the air. We sing these carols all together, and the audience has their kind of their flashlights on their cell phones, and we sing them together. And you're exactly right. They do complement each other. We usually always sing them together, actually. So it really is a Come All You Faithful, and then Silent Night right after it. So yeah, I think you're right.
Right. And then you have Heavenly Hosts as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's an original. I actually I had someone ask me the other day, "Hey, what's your favorite song that you've ever written that hasn't necessarily been successful?" And I would say it's that one. I think it's extremely potent and powerful. Obviously, to write a Christmas classic is virtually impossible, and it would be wonderful if that was to become one. But it's one that I every time I hear it, I really resonate with it in a very, very unique way. So,
Mm.
hey, maybe when I'm dead and gone, years down the road, maybe they'll still sing that one. Who knows?
Wow. We'll check. We'll have to keep on listening to that one because
That's right.
that's a very promising one. Track 13, that one is on the album, and then the penultimate one is a Christmas monologue as well.
Yeah, we really do. We've kind of stumbled upon doing these little monologues along the way as you were kind of saying earlier, they kind of tell the story. And this leads into the drummer boy. And I think it's just, it's kind of, we forget that, the baby Jesus, he turned BC to AD.
Yeah.
Our timeline even actually talks about that. What we reference every day is actually talking about this little baby boy. We forget that, and so we talk a little bit about that in that
Mm.
monologue.
And of course, the final one is the title track of the album of the same name,
Yeah,
Little Drummer Boy, as well.
yeah, yeah. We came up with that many years ago, and my little boy is actually comes in on the during the show, and he is the little drummer boy. So he actually gets out there. He's been doing it for a couple of years now, and he's 9 years old, and he's learned to play drums very well. And so we have him come up there and sing this song that when we were in the studio singing it, made me realize I feel like the little drummer boy. I feel like this little boy who doesn't have any gifts or doesn't have anything, is poor, doesn't have any gifts to give Jesus, but has the ability to play the drums, and
Yeah.
so he wants to do that for Jesus.
Amazing. And we just touched on track by track on the album. I'm just going to hold it up here. That's the album
Yeah,
there. That's a physical copy, and that's available on like all good outlets, and you can listen to it streaming platforms as well. And
absolutely.
with a physical copy, it'd be a nice stocking filler as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. You get into CDs and vinyls and all those types of things. They become more nostalgic now because you can actually touch them. You know what I mean? Where streaming, you can listen to everything, but it doesn't feel as real. And so the reason why we still make them is because people still do want them, but there is something very tangible and real about it that we love.
Yeah. And I just wanted to make sure that we talk about your concert coming up.
Yeah,
At the time of the interview, I know you're doing New York next week, which is a
yeah.
magical place to perform in this time of year. And then you're on to London as well.
Yeah, yeah. We go on to New York and then go to London. We've never actually taken our Christmas show internationally. I don't include Canada because it's still part of North America, but we've done a couple up there, but we've never taken it across any seas. And so for us, this will be the first time to take the Christmas show overseas. And so, yeah, we're very excited to be able to make some Christmas memories, to be able to see see London at Christmas. I've never done that before. We're certainly looking forward to it.
Beautiful. And do you know if tickets are still on sale if people
Yes,
want a
for the
last minute
second
buy?
show. Yeah, for the second show, I think there's still just a few. I think it's getting close to being sold out because it's a smaller
Yeah.
theater. But yes, there's two nights. One of them sold out, but I think the second night, I think it's on is it 12th? I think. Who
Yes,
knows? I think it's
that's
the
right.
12th.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And then
I think that's when it's
you're
still.
back home to Nashville. Is that where you are based at the moment, Tennessee?
Yeah, that's where we live now. Yeah, and we're doing Grand Ole Opry. We're doing a little bit of a residency there. We'll do four shows there. We're not doing kind of the big arena thing as much as we're doing kind of more intimate theatrical and theater shows. And yeah, so we'll go over, spend some time with you, and then we come back and we finish it off at the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah. And people can find out your official website with all your links and tours. Is it for King and Country?
For kingandcountry.com. Yeah, that should give you the you should be able to find us if you Google it, search it, and yeah, all the socials and such.
Great. And I just wanted to take five just to talk about this album as well. It's called The Unsung
Yeah,
Hero. Because
yeah,
this year you had a successful cinematic release of that
yeah,
album. And
yeah,
it's features lots of great songs on there. The first one being You're the Voice. That was
yeah.
co-written by an Australian guy. Was it Andy Quinter? Uh,
And John Farnham was the one who kind of made that famous. Yeah, it was fun to be able to work on a project where we could, kind of reimagine some '90s songs. And one of the ones that impacted us, and You're the Voice might be the late '80s, but really impacted us a lot was that song called "You're the Voice." And so it was a joy to be able to remake that. There's some other ones on there that are remakes as well, and it was a fun project to kind of work on and dream up new renditions of classic songs.
that's brilliant. And I just wanted to make sure that we touch on the Unsung Hero as well. That's a very popular track as well.
Yeah.
It's very moving, isn't it?
Yeah. Unsung Hero really written about the power of parents, in your life and how much they really alter who you are as a person. Yet, oftentimes I don't want to say you forget about them, but because a lot of us don't, I think a lot of us are still at least a little reverent about our parents. But you forget the power that they have in your life, and I think for most people, they are unsung heroes.
Mm. And the last track on there was Crazy, the theatrical version made famous by
Yeah,
Seal. You certainly
yeah,
make it your own. And I mean, I love both versions. I listened to that
yeah,
constantly the other week, and it touches you. That
yeah.
with what's going on in the world, very meaningful lyrics.
Absolutely. I was struck by, if we're never going to survive unless you get a little crazy. You forget that that's just, how insane that is to kind of apply that to your life. If you want to live a normal life, don't do anything crazy. But if you want to do something extraordinary, you might actually have to get a little crazy. And I
Yeah.
think that, yeah, I think that's something that's very applicable to today.
So those songs as well were just touched about from that album as well. In the concerts as well, will there be an opportunity for people to purchase merchandise as well?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll all
brilliant.
be there.
Oh, great. And then I've just got this album wanted to touch on. It's the what are we waiting for as well? That was released a couple of years back. Was that released
Yeah.
not too long after lockdown when we all come out of that
Yeah.
situation?
Yes, it was. Yeah, and it was really written. I think obviously albums go through these weird cycles of talking and writing about the things that we're going through. And that album was really written for us as intentionally for as we were coming out of the pandemic. I think that there was even take the album title. I think there's a lot of people that when the pandemic happened, there was a lot of hopes and dreams that have been cast aside,
Yeah,
or they just never realized that in some cases that life is a little bit fragile. And I think that the question that was important for a lot of us to ask was actually, what are we waiting for? Why aren't we getting after the things that maybe that these dreams that are only given to you? They're only given to you as an individual. And so, yeah, I think that album was really written to everyone in response to what was going on in the pandemic.
That's fantastic. Well, Luke Smallbone, thanks for joining me on today's show just to run through the album on a track by track basis and then touch on a few of your other previous releases as well. It's been really nice speaking with you today.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time, man. We appreciate you. All the best.
And very best of luck with your concerts as well.
Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.